tell me about how you first came to know about Femme House.
I learned about Femme House through a bunch of mutual friends um, who were getting involved with it, like Mary Droppins, um, and obviously through LP, who's a friend. And the message of Femme House just really resonated with me as a trans person, as someone who identifies as female, as somebody who has really hustled and grinded in this industry and kind of, even before coming out as trans, kind of saw firsthand the difficulties that are presented towards people that aren't cisgender, straight, white, male, um, even to a certain extent, people that fit within a certain body type. And um, Femhouse's mission to make things more equitable for people who don't fit into these very specific boxes that the music industry prefers their artists to fit inside. Um, the fact that Femhouse strives to course correct those impulses um, really struck a chord with me. And so, of course, as I got to know you and as I got to know Leah and a lot of my peers in the industry who have been linked to Femhouse in one way or another, I just really wanted to get involved. And I'm really blessed and flattered that you all would bring me into the fold. So,
That was really sweet, and I'm trying to keep it together and not cry on camera about it. What has been your experience with the Femme House community? I've always said, from the beginning that our community is our greatest asset, and when I was executive director, I just considered the most important part of my job not fucking up. How does it feel to play a Femme House show, to be a guest on the radio show, to be a guest at a Femme House session? What's your experience with what we've got going on?
um, as far as live events go, I feel like the type of community that has been built up um, via Femhouse has been very inclusive and very progressive. And the live events, especially, I feel like it's a testament to the kind of joy that can be cultivated when you create a space that truly feels safe. Um, we, as musicians and as promoters in some cases, and as artists, I feel like the last 5 years, there's been this constant conversation about what can we do to make spaces feel welcome, um, and like everybody can be a part of what's going on. And because Femhouse's mission is so upfront, even before you step through the door, I think that has helped weed out a lot of the bad actors. I.e., like people that are a little bit more closed minded. Like, if you tell them right from the get go, even before they step foot in the door, like, hey, like, we're not going to tolerate this, that, or the other, whether it's, racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, anti Semitism, transphobia, bigotry, misogyny, like anything that fits within the umbrella of otherizing other people. A lot of those people are either like, okay, this woke event's not for me, and so they just mosey on down the block and pay it no mind, or they go like, okay, cool, I know I have to be on my best behavior before I step through the door. Um, and it's actually really entertaining to see, for lack of a better word, broy people I'm just going to use the phrase broy people, like people who just come for the party and don't really pay any mind to like where house music came from specifically. Um, they step through the door and they're kind of hit with this community that maybe they have nothing against but don't really spend a lot of time in. And to see them kind of warm up to the room and just kind of um, become part of the, the ecosystem, um, like part of the joy of these events and some of the things that I love about it, some of the things that I love seeing at these events is seeing those people kind of start to blend into the ecosystem and then knowing that maybe not all of them, but at least a few of them will then leave that event having been enriched, um, and maybe having had their mind opened up a little bit to like what an event can look like and what it should look like. And so when they go to the next event, no matter where it is, they're kind of actively looking for those spaces, or they recognize that the space isn't as inclusive as it could be, and so they step up and go and either, you know, speak up for somebody who's being treated poorly, or go out of their way to kind of like bring their group together to kind of be like, all right, we're going to take this negative energy that's happening here and kind of try to balance that out with our own energy. Um, and that's the thing that I find a lot of the time when I'm going to these shows is the things that, long story short, the things that stick out to me the most are the people who may not have intended to come into this space, and then watching those people warm up to that type of environment, and then you know, I'm left with the hope that maybe those people will kind of go out and maybe become mouthpieces for what we as artists are trying to achieve through organizations like Femme House. Very long-winded answers. Yeah, yeah. Planting Femme House seeds, exactly.
I mean, you know, one of our pillars in our mission statement is visual representation, right? And for us, the crux of that is that you can't be what you can't see. But there's also a different side of that where someone that is just used to seeing themselves and doesn't even think about how used to they are of seeing themselves walks into a room and they don't see themselves reflected at all. And they realize, oh shit, for once, I am the marginalized. I am the other. And even that tiny realization, right, in the context of something as silly as a party, can have an impact, I think, and we think at Femme House, like, to how they're moving throughout the world. It's just like if it makes them that much more conscious about the space that they take up, the space that's been created for them. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And like, you know, every single interview that I do, I feel like a broken record, but it's always worth mentioning that house music as a genre, or dance music if you want to make it even more broad, came from marginalized communities. Like, regardless of how you want to boil it down, right? Came from marginalized communities and were created, these genres were created in spaces that were on the fringes of society. And as they have become more popular over the decades, and have kind of seeped into popular music, um, it's lost some of that. It's lost some of that flavor. It's kind of like how Nashville hot chicken in Nashville is a lot different than the hot chicken that you're probably getting in downtown LA. Like, it's
Yeah.
just,
Thanks, Dave.
thank you, Dave. Um, but it's like the house music that we're getting in some cases is so far removed from what we had before. And a lot of the newcomers into these spaces don't realize just how much history there is. And that in some ways they are visitors walking into these spaces. And just like any other house, no pun intended, just like any other house, there are house rules. And, it's like you take, in some case, like at my house, for example, you take off your shoes before you walk inside. That's just what you do. In a nightclub that has house DJs in it, maybe it's not, you have to take your shoes off before you walk inside, but it's, you have to treat people with respect, even if they come from a different community from you, regardless of what biases or baggage that you have or whatever feelings you have or whatever. These spaces are meant to be for everybody. And, somebody, not to sidetrack, but I remember reading a tweet recently online that was like, if you have to ask yourself, is this racist? Chances are it's probably racist. So, like, if you walk into a nightclub and you see, let's say, a trans person, and you don't know how to interact with that person, and you ask yourself, is what I'm about to say transphobic and unacceptable in this space? Chances are maybe you should keep that to yourself and just move within the space, causing no problems, paying no mind to anybody who's around you. How did I get sidetracked? I'm sorry. I do this a lot. But yes, Femme House as an organization, the thing that I love and appreciate and respect the most is that at these events, through these workshops, through the radio show, and even just through, being various mouthpieces on social media, whether it's you or LP or whomever is part of the crew. There always seems to be this very upfront agreement with people that before you walk into this space, you may experience some things that you may not be used to, but by the end of the night, we hope that you leave feeling like your idea of what a night out could be has been expanded. And it's very enjoyable, again, watching people's perceptions kind of evolve and adapt and change in real time at these events. And the fact that you all, to your point, go out of your way to have lineups that are, for lack of a better word, like a smorgasbord of various types of people from various parts of the community, so that everybody who's in the space can see somebody who looks like them at some point throughout the night. Otherwise, people leave feeling like somebody might feel like they're not part of it. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to be very specific with the words that I'm using, and it's not working very well. But
I think you're doing
Unless I
great.
did this. Yeah. I think I need more caffeine. Today might be a multiple cup of coffee type day. So
I am literally, as soon as we're done talking, on my way to make a coffee because
very very tall coffee. Very tall coffee.
tell me about the impact that you've seen on your career because of joining the Femme House community, whether that be by amplification of your projects or just simply like the quality of fan base that you've seen. I feel like to sort of tie this whole thing together, we were just talking about Twitter, and you are one of the most vocal people on Twitter. And I always love it because everybody is always booing you to a certain extent, and then it's nice to see Femme House fan like just come with her Jon Snow swords out, like, don't boo her, she's right. Baby, wait, get behind me. It's like, it's one of my favorite things. It happens like monthly.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a very controversial public figure on things like Twitter. Not because like I'm trying to ruffle anybody's feathers. It's just like sometimes, and I know that I take things a little too seriously. I take things a little too far, and there are some people where I should just like let it go and not respond. But I have that. I am not that girl. Like it's like, if I have zero chill, I will go to prison. If you think I'm the bigger person, girl, I am not. But I think there's something to be said. I mean, it happens. I feel like once every few months, something happens in the industry, that it's something is controversial in some way, shape, or form. And I always try to approach things with the most. I believe context is everything, right? So, like, even if I disagree with what somebody is doing, I try to understand as to maybe why someone would go about doing that thing. And sadly, on social media, people don't care about context or nuance or anything. It's very black or white, yes or no, most of the time. So, like, the Dombresky situation, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'll bring it up just as an example. The Dombresky situation, do I feel like Dombresky should have liked those comments on Instagram that trash talk Taylor Swift? First and foremost, I'm not even sure it was him, because usually artists at that level aren't always on their social media. They have their stuff planned out days in advance. They're not checking all the comments. They're not checking all their messages. I don't know if he is one of the few people that does stay on top of all that stuff, but I would argue there's a chance that it was someone else on his team going through the comments and just liking the ones that were shady, which, if that's the case, makes this entire situation hysterical. But do I think it was the right choice? Probably not. Do I think Taylor Swift fans are overreacting and looking at this situation as if he sent Taylor Swift a death threat? Yeah, I do. And do I think it's ridiculous that that people are calling individuals like Chris Lake virtual unknowns? And I'm like, 35 million listeners, like a month. Sure, this person is totally unknown. You're totally right. But that's just like one small example. I feel like, having been part of the Femme House community over the last few years, I think it's done a few things. I think it's made the crowds at my shows a lot more diverse than prior to the pandemic. I think it's given me a certain level of credibility, I would say. Not to say that's like the only reason I like to do things with Femme House. It's not. I enjoy the message that you all have, but if you have the Femme House stamp of approval on you, it sets, again, a precedent before people walk through the door. Like, this is going to be a show where people are going to be themselves, and they have permission um, to kind of enjoy themselves in this space. And if you disagree with that, then I'm not the artist for you. Um, as I like to joke around, it's like my sets and my music are for the femmes, the thems, the gays, the girls, the goths, the weirdos. Like, and if some straight guy in a floral shirt walks in and vibes with it, great. Love that for you.
The floral shirt is such an impeccable detail to know.
Good for you. I'm glad that you feel like you can party with us.
Yeah, it's like, 'cause it's his party shirt, you know? That's what...
Yeah, it's party shirt. It's literally the Spirit Halloween costume, $50 party shirt. But I think it's allowed for me to reach the right people. Not that we should be picky with the people that listen to our music, but I think I want my music to reach the people who will get something from it, because I try to put messages in my music, like the Femme House compilation, Inner Voice on the Femme House compilation this past March. Inner Voice is a song that has a monologue that I recorded that is literally a poem that I had written down during a therapy session, talking about gender dysphoria and like what that feels like. And Joe Schmo listening to, like, not to, I don't want to trash talk like Dirty Bird, for example, as a record label, but if I put that track out on Dirty Bird, it might reach some people that it's intended to reach, but because it came out as part of a Femme House compilation, knowing that there are people who are gender non-conforming who are part of the Femme House community, like, it had a more profound impact and it reached those people. House Princess, similarly, on the first Femme House compilation, was a track specifically for gender non-conforming and femme identifying people in the music industry who don't normally get a song just for them during the course of a DJ set. You know, it's like, I want people to see me when I DJ or when they listen to my music feel empowered. And being part of the Femme House community helps achieve that. And the fact that the Femme House community has kind of recognized that about my music and about my DJ sets has been incredibly flattering and humbling, because it's something that I've been working towards for a very long time. So it feels good to have that. I think that answered the question.
You did. You
Yeah,
answered
okay.
it beautifully.
Cool.
You have dropped 2 tracks on both Femme House compilations. You played what I think was your first EDC Vegas with us at our art car.
I did, yes.
You've done a bunch of live shows with us. You've been a guest to Femme House Sessions online. You've sort of touched all parts of the community. What advice could you give to somebody that's sort of feeling shy about diving all in to this community, that maybe wants to start an artist career and sort of use this machine to its full potential, but it's feeling sort of nervous and small?
I would say, one, don't let people pressure you if you're not ready. Everybody has their own journey. Things happen when they're supposed to. So don't feel any kind of pressure to do something if you're not ready. But when you are ready to take the leap, just do it head first. There might not be water at the bottom of the pool, or it might be very shallow. You will get a concussion. However, that's part of the process. You kind of need that thing that's going to like jolt you. You know, I've been doing music for over a decade in some capacity. And things have only really started working out for me in the last 2.5, 3 years. And that's like very like basic, modest level success. I'm not making John Summit money. That's not going to happen for me anytime soon unless something really crazy happens. We're manifesting it, but it's not going to happen probably tomorrow. So you just have to be in it for the right reasons. It can't be, oh, I want to be rich and I want to be famous. It has to be, I want to create something that gives me fulfillment and impacts other people. And if you can manage to keep that as your main focus and you pay no mind to whatever's popular, because, you know, trends come and go, then I think you might be onto something. And, you know, the empowerment that I get from other people, the amount of times that I've had somebody reach out to me on social media, like in a DM or whatever, and say something like, oh, this is the first time I've seen a trans person at a music festival on a stage DJing. And that made me feel like I could achieve this. Or, oh, the fact that your artist name is Babyweight and I've been feeling really down on myself. This happened actually at a Femme house show in DC. I think it was after, it was like the DJ Mag award show that LP did. It was like her and I want to say Bad Snacks. That feels wrong.
It's Bad Snacks.
Bad Snacks? Okay, cool. Awesome. I was like, oh, good. Please don't drag me. But a woman, I wasn't even playing that show, and a woman came up to me and was like, hey, I saw you at Project Glow last year, which is a festival that happens here in DC. It's one of the East Coast Insomniac festivals. I saw you perform, and I had just given birth to my first kid, and I was feeling all kinds of shame over how my body looked, like post baby. And the fact that I saw you DJing and I discovered that your name was Babyweight really empowered me, because it made me feel like it was not something I should be ashamed of, but rather it's just who I am, it's part of me, whatever. And there was something like really great about that. Like, there is power in being visible for other people. And if you are gender nonconforming, or you're a girl, or an NB kid, or a person of color, like, especially if you're the only one in your local scene and you want to participate, chances are, if you're the only one, if you think you're the only one and you start participating, chances are, all of a sudden, more people that are part of your community will start coming out of the woodwork, because they'll realize, like, oh, there's somebody that looks like me, or somebody I identify with doing this. And then you can find community that way. It's like, sometimes you have to be the guinea pig in order to, get more people to come out. You have to be the canary in the coal mine. More animal metaphors. And yeah, like that's the only advice that I can come up with. So, and maybe something that an actual musician said once. I waited outside of a club for James Murphy to come out. This was 2013. This was years ago. I was standing outside of a club. I was like the last one. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold, but waited outside. James Murphy from LCD Sound System comes out. I had just started DJing. I was like, "Do you have any kind of advice?" And the only thing that he could manage to say, because it was so late, he was just like, "If you want some advice, the best advice I can give you is don't focus on what's new, just focus on what's good." So like, just focus on what you like, and don't let other people give you a hard time for it, because what you might like might be, you know, somebody like 50 people's fucking favorite track ever, and they might see you in a packed club, and those 50 people are like, "Oh shit, I fucking forgot about this song and I love it and it's great," and you have now made their life infinitely better, because of your taste. So don't be scared of your taste.
Wise words from a session to stage icon. Baby Wait, we are your biggest fan and your
Thank
biggest
you.
ally. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for all the ways that you continue to advocate for our message of inclusivity and equity, and all the ways that you are just a champion for Femme House in this community. We love you.
I love you guys too. I really appreciate it, and I'm very thankful that you all asked me to do this interview. I'm sorry if I talk too much and if it bored people to tears. I'm a very talky person. I'm sorry. I don't talk.
Certified yapper.
Certified yapper. Yappadoodle time.
Femme House yapper in chief.
Yeah, I don't talk this much in person. I'm just warning you. If anybody comes up to me at a show and expects me to talk this much, it's probably not going to happen. I'm just warning you. When there's a boundary of a laptop, when there's a boundary of like a camera, no issues here. When I'm surrounded by other people, I just want to like curl up somewhere quiet, and but that's enough. That's enough of that.